There are a lot of videos out there that say you are using your poles wrong or you're using the straps wrong. Well, if you're using them and they're working for you, then the simple fact is then fine. But you might be able to use them better in different circumstances. Plus, there are some newer poles out than the old style, and I think they are way better.
Not everyone agrees, but I think poles are great, and not only for older hill walkers and runners. I've used them since the 1980s, before there were trekking poles, and we used telescopic ski mountaineering poles. I've used them in the wilds of the Wrangell St. Elias in Alaska, and I used them 20 years ago when we hiked the length of the USA on the Pacific Crest Trail. Although in these photographs I'm using Liz's orange poles for some reason. My poles were Lecky.
And these are the very poles that I used for that 6-month-long Pacific Crest Trail hike, and they're still going strong. But recently I have replaced them with these, and I would have loved if these had been around for our PCT hike. I should say I pay full price for all of these. There's absolutely no sponsorship involved. I'm not covering pacer poles. They work in a slightly different way that I don't quite get along with. If you would like to jump to different sections of this video, you can do so in the chapters below, but it would be fantastic for me if you'd watch until the end. Thank you.
The original trekking poles were based on the ski mountaineering poles, aluminium with twist grip to tighten and adjust length.
For me, these had a few big problems. You'd think all was well, you'd be walking along fine, and then just at a key moment you'd put your weight on them and they would slip. And that would happen at a key moment with potentially dangerous results. Or the alternative to that was they would stick, the aluminium would weld itself to itself. And so I used to take them apart after every walk and dry all 6 sections separately. But then of course you've got the faff factor. Each time you took them out of your bag to set them up, you had to get the distance just right. And inevitably one would be longer than the other and you'd be tinkering around for ages. They were just a bit of a faff.
A few manufacturers came up with this alternative, quick adjusting clips.
And initially these look quite good, but when you think about it, they've got the same problems of the aluminium welding to itself. You've still got the faff factor of getting it to the right length. And when it comes to getting the tension right, the idea is you do micro adjustments with the little wheel at the back, and then when it comes to setting the length, you just push the clip over. I don't know if you can see, that clip there looks much newer. It's because we've had to replace 2 of these clips because they have snapped with Liz trying to get the tension on her poles exactly right. This wasn't really the answer.
But these might be. Runners have been using fixed-length carbon poles like these for a few years. They call them cheat sticks. Liz uses the runner's version with these detachable gloves.
I think these are the best version for walkers. They have a longer grip handle, and we'll get onto why that's useful in a moment. But as well as being an awful lot shorter than my original poles, 2 of these weigh less than 1 of these. And they are much easier to set up, as I'll quickly show you. Just drop them down, pull that bit out, and there you are. You're ready to go. You'll probably see how they work better if I take them apart slowly. Just press that button to release them. And the top part of the shaft goes into the handle. That creates space for the bottom 2 to come apart. And there we are. Of course, that means they don't adjust. They are just one fixed length. You can get some that have a secondary adjustment at the top, but personally I think they're the worst of all worlds. Just measure it and get it right. And the way you do that is with your old poles, get them to a length that you feel you're happy with. That's about right. Then turn them upside down and then hold it with that part of the basket, and that is the height that you want for your poles.
So that's elbow at about 90 degrees, hold the pointy end, then the distance from the basket to the top of the handle is the length of pole you want. When you're hiking easy ground, up, down or level, the pole tips should be landing slightly behind the opposite leading foot. As your weight drops onto the pole, it helps to propel you forward. If it landed in front of you, it's going to act like a brake and potentially jar your shoulder. Using the poles the right way on easy ground will help you cover the miles. But of course, it's not always easy ground. Heading downhill on steeper ground, you want the pole to act as a brake, so use it in front of you. Like a skier, you can sometimes plant it and walk around it before planting the opposite pole. Notice I'm not using my straps in this situation. We'll get to that in a moment. hiking uphill on steeper ground, go with what works for you on that terrain. Your quads will do more work than your arms. I treat the poles like outriggers to add some balance and just give a little push.
I think I should say that for most of the walking around here, I don't actually need the poles, but it's convenient ground on which to demonstrate. But I also want to say a big thank you to these members of the production crew and adventure crew who are members of the channel. I really appreciate your support. If you'd like to know more, click the join button below any video. The memberships were closed for a little while, but they're reopened again now. You probably already know that you don't use the strap like this because it doesn't really do anything. Your hand goes up through it and then back down again, and you use the strap like you would when skiing, so the swing becomes very minimal, just using the wrist. It's pivoting on the strap itself, and you can see that little notch comes into play. I'm holding and swinging the pole essentially with one finger and a thumb. On flat ground, my whole arm is acting like my propulsion through that strap without me actually having to grip the pole, and that would otherwise put a lot of effort onto my fingers if I was gripping really tightly. Falls are more likely and more damaging on steep downhills, so for these I just don't use the strap. I want to be able to drop the pole and break my fall with my hands if necessary. Steep ground meaning so the hillside behind me is closer. And I also want to use a different part of this grip, in particular this pommel. When used as a brake, I found this to be the most effective way of engaging my whole arm rather than trying to kink my wrist before I pole plant. Serious uphills are the only time I grip the pole, and I use the extended grip area. You can't reach high and plant your pole very well if your hand is in the loop using the regular part of the shaft. So I use the extended grip area, and I can put my hand any and everywhere along its length. I've put details of these poles in the video description, nothing in it for me, just in case you want to know more. Have I missed anything? Do let me know if there's a way you use poles that you feel I ought to have included. Sorry I've not included pacer poles, I know some people are evangelical about those. Thank you for watching so far, give me a thumbs up if this has been helpful, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.